Hello, it's Christi with Gray Quilts, and I wanted to show you how to make your first cut with fabric. So we're going to talk about two kinds of fabric today, different ways to cut it, and how to use your different blades for each. So I have here with me what I called in my opening the box video, naked fabric. So this was a fat quarter that I pulled. As you see, it's very flimsy, very unstable, just a plain piece of fabric. To prepare this fabric for me to get the perfect cut, I need to apply Material Magic. Excuse me. Here is a fat quarter that I had taken, and I used Material Magic. I love this product. It's a liquid stabilizer. We sell it in the shop. If you need to order some, you can do it at quiltnow.com. This is fantastic, whether you're going to do machine applique with of any kind, machine embroidery applique, even just sewing. I do press a lot of stuff with Material Magic because I find out that my blocks come out perfect and pretty. My appliques come out perfect and pretty. I just love this product. So what I have done is I've taken this product and I had lightly misted all over my fabric of fat quarter, fabric, half yard, whatever you choose to use. I misted it all and I pressed it. When it's pressed, it should kind of come out, if you notice, it's kind of a stiff feel, kind of a paper feel maybe, so to speak. If it's not quite like that and it's still kind of flimsy, like on this corner over here, it's still kind of sloppy feeling, I would mist it one more time, let it set for about 10 or 15 minutes, and then I give it a good press. And then you should have the good paper feel that you have here. I'm going to set this aside. Okay, so I said we were going to talk about two kinds. So I have two pieces here. I have taken this fat quarter, this particular piece, and I have starched it with Material Magic, but I took it a step further. I used my Brother applique contact sheet. I love this stuff. It took so long for it to grow on to me, but once I messed with it, and figured out other ways how to use it with my mat, I love it. So this has become my new fave. You can also get that here at quiltnow.com. Okay, so we're going to do two things. We have our fabric with our Brother applique contact sheet on the back, and I have naked fabric that has been starched with Material Magic. To get a good cut with naked fabric with Material Magic, it's important that you have a high-tack fabric sheet on your mat. So in my opening box video, I showed that with my standard mat, there was a green sheet in the package and a blue piece of cardstock. This is the green sheet. It's dull on one side, shiny on the other. I did cut this off, so it goes here. It's a 12 by 12. The reason why I cut this was, I had this brainstorm. I thought, oh, I need to do multiple things on my mat, but I only need to cut small pieces of fabric. So rather than applying a whole sheet of my fabric tack sheet to the mat, I'm going to only use a corner of my mat so that that leaves me 3 quadrants to do other things on my mat. If you were using a whole mat and needed to cut all your fabric, or if that's what you mainly do is your fabric for applique, you would then apply your whole sheet. So let's talk about that. If you're applying your whole sheet, if you notice there's a shiny side and there's a dull side. Now when you take it out of your package of your new one, it's nice and flat. But when you go to buy extras, they come on a roll, so they're kind of rolled and curled. I like to take it, lay it down, use my roller, and give it a good roll. I turn it over and I give it a good roll. And it gets some of the wrinkle out. At that point then, I would come to my mat and I would line it up right inside the black marks, right on the mat, and I would lay it down, and I would use my roller to roll it all down, and then I would use my scraper tool to give it a good press to get it stuck. So I'm going to move this aside, and like I said, I only wanted to use one quadrant on my mat. So let's do that. I'm going to use this quadrant right here. So I'm going to line it up along the edges of the black border on my mat. And if this would have been all the way across, I just kind of start the top right here. Take my roller, because I really don't want my fingers to be on the mat. The oils from your finger do take away some of the sticky. So then I roll it down. Now I did put the shiny side down. That makes it stick to the mat. So if you notice, I'm pressing. Sometimes you will get little bubbles. You'll see little bubbles, and you can take and you can use your scraper tool and burnish those bubbles out. It's not important that you get all the bubbles out. It'll be just fine even if it has a few. Now once I've done that, if you notice, I have the green on here. So when I remove the green sheet, here, this becomes trash. This is no longer of any use. So now it's really hard to see. So I have a clear high-tack fabric sheet here, and in these 3 quadrants, I have just my regular standard mat. This high-tack fabric sheet is extremely sticky. That is what helps hold the fabric in place so that it can have a good, clean cut. Okay, so like I said, we're going to cut 2 different ways. I'm going to go ahead and prep my mat with my fabric with both products. Now, when you cut with your fabric without anything on it, your naked fabric with your Terrio Magic, you can place it right side up. Remember I told you it's really sticky? It doesn't take a lot to get it to stick. After you use it a few times and it has some of the fabric fibers that's been to the sticky mat, then you'll want to use your roller and really give it a good press. Okay, so I'm going to apply my piece, and I want to fussy cut this fabric, so I have trimmed it to this shape here. Say it was a scrap. I've applied my blue. Now I'm going to apply this to the mat. I've taken the paper off the back, and I'm going to give it a good press. Okay, so now I have my mat with my fabric, naked fabric with Terrio Magic only, and my fabric that's been Terrio Magicked and has the Brother applique contact sheet. So let's load our mat. Once we load our mat, it's important that you make sure not to bend the corners, because these machines have become a little fussy with bended corners up here. It doesn't like to load, so please take extra care of your mats. Okay, on the side of the screen, you're going to notice you have your home button, your load and unload button, and a pause button. So let's load. Okay, so let's get our shape. Let's see. Let's use this one. Okay, so I noticed that I need to cut just a small shape out of here, and my piece is a little odd shaped, and so I need to be able to fussy cut that. That makes this machine great. But I do know that the sizes that it's coming in as is way too big for my piece of fabric. So I can adjust the size here for what I need or to fit my piece of fabric. It looks like I'm a little less than 2 inches. Let's go on down some more. That ought to do it. Let's try. So I have it by 1 inch by 2.01 inches. I could also do multiple if I needed to. I could change this right here, hit the plus sign to make it a quantity of more. But I just need one. So I'm going to hit set. When it comes in, it always goes to the upper left-hand corner. But I notice that my fabric is right here on my mat. So they don't call it a scan and cut for no reason. I'm going to look at my screen here. I have the words add, edit, a grouping button. This is like an oven door that I call it, which is the scan button, and your wrench for the inner settings of the machine. I'm going to press what I call the oven door and hit start. Listen how quiet. I love that about this new machine. Okay, when it comes up, if you notice, I have my blue fabric, my pink fabric, and my shape. I need to put my shape on my pink fabric. So I'm going to take it and drag it down. Now, if you notice it doesn't fit, the little red box, it doesn't fit on my pink, and I need to rotate. So I can go to edit right here. I need to edit that object. So I'm going to hit object edit. And I'm going to do a rotate. I'm going to take it 90 degrees. I'm going to drag it over. I think it fits okay, but if I'm concerned, I'm going to go back to the previous screen and hit the zoom. And I'm going to move my mat down to where it is so I can see really well. Now I noticed this one corner may be iffy, but I have room at the top to move it. So let's take these buttons, which is new on this model, and move it up a little. Love that feature. Now if you needed to see it in a little tighter, you can go from 200% to 400% with this button right here. I'm happy though, I think. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to say okay, and now we're ready to cut. Here it tells you to say, please select. I want to cut. The next screen is important to pay attention to. It says the word cut. Make sure you pressed cut. Pressure, speed, and if you've done vinyl or something in the past that you needed to have half cut on for, please make sure that half cut is turned off. If yours says on for any reason, just hit your wrench tool, go to page 2, and press off. Now, we're ready to start. It's going to check the depth to the mat. It will check the depth to the mat and begin cutting the shape that I chose. Okay, we're done cutting, so I'm going to say okay and unload my mat. I'm going to use my spatula to keep my fingers off the mat. And pull this up. And there we have my shape. So now this is ready to be used in your applique project, or if you needed to apply it to some fabric of some sort, this is ready to go. Now, let's cut our fabric that has only Terreal Magic on it and just the high-tech fabric sheet. Okay? I'm going to hit my home button and say okay. Now I told you there were 2 different blades. This blade cuts everything except for the naked fabric that may have a little stabilization, liquid stabilization. No product other than some Terreal Magic or some starch. So I have my gold topped blade here with a cover on it. I need to remove the cover, set it aside, and apply my blade. Let's load our mat. Load that mat button. Now to pick our shape. I picked the whale. Now I noticed with my fabric being on the mat that I have a little less than 3 inches by 6 inches. So I know that this is going to be too big. So I'm going to reduce the size. Okay, let's try that. So I have me a little whale. All right. Now at this time I could choose one whale, or if I needed to cut multiple, I could change it right here and hit set. Now, if you notice, I have my wale in my upper corner, but my blue fabric is over here. So I need to make certain that I can get my wale to my fabric. So guess what I'm going to do? Hit my button that I call, quote, looks like an oven door, my scan button, and hit start. Once again, it's still just as quiet. Now that it's done scanning, I need to move my whale or my dolphin over here to my blue fabric. Whew, it looks like it's going to be a little tight. So I'm going to go ahead and hit edit. I need to hit zoom. And I can see that his top fin is coming off my fabric, so I need to reduce some size. So I'm going to go back and say okay, object edit, and hit my size tool. And let's reduce him some more. I bet that works. All right, so now let me go to zoom just to make sure it's right where it needs to be and push it down just a little. And say okay. I'm going to use this tool and I'm going to move him over here just a little more because I want to be able to use this other side of the fabric maybe for something else later. That's where the fussy cut comes in nice at. Do you see my red box moving? Perfect. I'm going to say okay. Perfect. And now let's cut. Hit please select, cut. I make certain that my half cut is turned off and I hit start. Just checking my depth. And cutting my dolphin or my whale. I'm pretty sure it's a dolphin. Okay, so now that we have finished cutting, I'm going to say okay and hit the unload mat button. I'm going to come over here. Once again, I'm going to use my tools to keep my fingers off the mat and peel my fabric away. And now I have a perfect dolphin cut. You get that great cut because I used the Terrio Magic on the fabric to give it a good, stable feel, and I have a dolphin. So there you have it. You've cut fabric without any applique backing. Go ahead, make that first cut.